So today we were looking at converting from one set of units to another set of units. We broke out into small groups and we converted miles to kilometers and then kilometers to miles, pounds to kilograms and then kilograms to pounds, inches to centimeters and centimeters to inches. What we observed is that we are either going to multiply in one direction, or sorry, what we observed is that if we multiply in one direction, we should divide to go the other direction. Multiplication and division are inverse operations. So to get back to where we started, we should, after we multiply, we should divide, and that'll bring us back to our original. So 60 multiplied by 1.6 will give us 96 kilometers. This is a specific case of the multiplication that we were talking about when we converted things like dollars to euro or euro to dollars. When we talk about converting fractions over 7 and fractions over 11 to fractions over 77. We're using multiplication to get sameness. We're just looking at that one piece. Multiplication will get us sameness. So let's make some more observations about this particular process. In these cases, we could kind of get away with figuring out which one is the bigger unit, and then multiplication will make things bigger. So this is 820. So in these problems, we could get away with just saying which unit is bigger and then multiply to get the bigger units. So we can figure out which unit is bigger. Then multiply, yikes, or divide based on which direction we want to go. So what I mean by that is we know that 2.54, I spelled 2.5 wrong. 2.54 centimeters is equal to 1 inch. So what that means is that inches are the bigger one. So there's all these centimeters in 1 inch, so inches are bigger than centimeters. So if we want to convert 60 centimeters, we know we want to make that number bigger. Oops. We know that since if we want to convert 60 centimeters, centimeters are the small one in this pair. So we know we want a bigger number. So multiplying by 2.54 will do the trick. 60 times 2.54. This is going, multiplying by 2.54 will make 60 into a bigger number. Multiplying by 2.54 will make 60 bigger. And then the other thing, it works in the other direction as well. If we have 60 inches, we know we're going to have fewer centimeters, so we'll divide by 2.54 to make the 60 smaller. So we can also take 60 if we have 60 centimeters, if we divide by 2.54, dividing by 2.54 will make the 60 smaller. So here we're just using, we're not trying to memorize formulas where we multiply or divide based on some formula. We're just trying to build an intuition for how we can do this. And this is one way we can build our intuition. If we multiply by the 2.54, that's going to make things bigger. So dividing by 2.54 will make things smaller. Any questions? So keep in mind, we're trying to build an intuition about unit conversions. It's important that we are able to look at numbers and compare them to something else that we can grasp. So I'll just use this example. A report came out about the amount of ice that was lost in the last year, ice from the polar ice caps. And it was a huge amount of ice, to the point where we don't really have any kind of concept of what kind of volume of ice that is. In the same way that when we talk about how much money, say, a very wealthy person like Jeff Bezos has, we can easily put a number on it, but we don't really have any concept of what that means. It's a lot, that we know, but how does it compare to other things? Does that make sense? It's really important that we look at things and say, how does this compare to other values? It's just an astronomical amount of money, and we don't really have anything to compare it to, unless, I guess, you're Bill Gates, when he's like, oh, well, we just take my money and just multiply by 2. So 2 of me equals 1 Jeff Bezos. But how many if we take everybody in the room right now and take all of our net worth, how many of this whole room will take to equal the net worth of, say, 1 Jeff Bezos? And it will be a lot. Does that make sense? So it's really important that we have some kind of sense about scale of number and how to convert one set of numbers to the other. All right, so let me make a quick next point on things, on this making things bigger and making things smaller. And this will be just our first step into understanding how unit conversions can work. So we know that if we have, one of the conversions that we had was 2.2 pounds is equal to 1 kilogram. Here we're saying that 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds. We're going in that direction. If we flip everything over, if we take this equation, I'm writing them as equations on this page, because if I take this equation and divide both sides by 2.2, I need a longer arrow, so I need 2 arrows. If I divide both sides by 2.2, I can find 1 pound. I can find out how many kilograms there are in 1 pound. So I'll take the 1 and divide it by 2.2. I'll take the 2.2 and flip it over. So I'm going to round it off, 0.455, let's call it. So we take the 2.2 pounds is equal to 1 kilogram, and I can divide by 2.2 because it's just an equation. And that tells me that 1 pound is equal to 4.455 kilograms. Now, what we should note here is our conversion number is now smaller than 1. So if we multiply by 0.455, that will make things smaller. So if we multiply by 0.455, we make things smaller. So now, if I have 60 pounds and I want to convert that to kilograms, I can use the 0.455 to do it. I know that kilograms are bigger and I want to make the 60 smaller, so I can multiply by 0.455 and that'll give me a smaller number. So if I take the 60 pounds and I multiply by 0.455, that'll get us a smaller number. So I can't actually put it down, it'll smear the ink. 60 times 0.455, 27.3. This is the same thing that happened as when we took 60 and divided it by 2.2. 60 divided by the 2.2 is 27.3. So when we multiply by a number less than 1, we make things smaller. When we multiply by a number bigger than 1, we make things bigger. That makes sense because when we multiply by 1, we don't do anything. It stays the same. 1 is in the middle, of multiplication. Multiply by bigger than 1, things get bigger. Multiply by less than 1, things get smaller. So that's a useful piece of information to keep in mind. 1 is in the middle of multiplication. 1 is the middle of multiplication. All right. So that's all I wanted to talk about today. A quick entry into thinking about unit conversions and why it's important to be able to do these kinds of unit conversions. Not just from a remembering formulas standpoint, but getting kind of an intuition about which direction things should go and whether multiplication and division will get us there. It's easy. It's nice to remember that 1 is in the middle of multiplication. That's kind of our takeaway for today. 1 is the middle of multiplication. Multiply by something more than 1, things get bigger. Multiply by something less than 1, things get smaller. Any questions? Math 820 won't have assignments on the MyLab because I've combined the 820 section into the 120 section on Canvas, so it would be one-stop shopping for everybody, which would actually be two-stop shopping because when you click on the Canvas link, it takes you to the Pearson site. But at least it's one place to start. You can always start in Canvas. So I guess that kind of counts as one-stop shopping. All right, well, that's going to do it for today. Thanks for coming in and playing the little breakout room game with us. And we will see you all on tomorrow. And we'll continue to talk about multiplication and addition combining together. Thanks for playing, everybody.
Thank you, Professor.